Welcome to the HMG Executive Leadership Spotlight. Here's our host, Hunter Muller.
Hello and welcome to the HMG Global Leadership Institute Spotlight. I'm here with Ken Grady, Senior Vice President and CIO for the Hall of Fame of HMG. Ken, great to see you. I've always enjoyed our conversations over the 8 years we've been collaborating. IDEXX is what a special company, what a special organization you work for. Tell us, give us an update. What's going on at IDEXX? Your role's expanded quite a bit and you're doing some amazing work with your team.
Yeah, thank you. I think so too. And IDEXX is not a household name unless you happen to be a veterinarian or in the animal health testing space. But IDEXX is, just for context, last year we closed at $3.25 billion roughly, and it's an animal health diagnostics and software company. So not therapeutics, but diagnostics and software. About 90% of our revenue last year was in the companion animal space. We also do livestock, poultry, dairy, water testing. Over 2 billion people a day rely on IDEXX tested water for their for safe drinking water. But so much of it is in the companion animal space. Dogs and cats, when you're taking your dog or your cat into the vet, or whatever your companion animal is. And because we're a diagnostics company, because you take your dog in, is my dog's feeling sick, is my cat well, we're producing results on either point of care or send out testing for hematology, for chemistry, for urinalysis, for radiography, etc. Ultimately, what we're providing is, number one, a voice to that pet who can't tell the doctor they're feeling sick today. But we're providing that result. We're providing data. So ultimately, at our heart, IDEXX has always been a technology-driven company, a very innovative company. And I joined, as you said, almost 8 years ago as the CIO responsible for our enterprise technology, just as we were changing the way we were going to market with a whole new go-direct approach, building out e-commerce, doubling the size of our sales force, really digging into the customer relationship and experience. And every step of the way, what I've really enjoyed is that IDEXX, which by the way has grown historically, in healthy double digits. I mean, it's just a fantastic story. When I joined, we were 1.4 billion. I mentioned we were 3.25. But every step of the way, we're looking for how do we leverage technology to create a better customer and employee experience. And IT is at the heart of that. And as a part of that, I've had the opportunity to expand. So now I am still CIO, but I'm also responsible for our reference lab, innovation, and tech ops, and our bioanalytics business, which is a part of the IDEXX portfolio.
And Ken, part of that is revenue producing, right?
Yeah, the bioanalytics business is it's a part of our business that supports a number of things, but animal health monitoring for universities and pharma companies, preclinical and biologics. But it's revenue generation. And then I mentioned our e-commerce platform, for example, and over a third of our revenue goes through our e-commerce for consumables, for our instruments, et cetera, in the field. And my team is responsible for product management for that platform. So it's really, IT is not a back office function at IDEXX. We are very much customer facing in everything that we do.
So Ken, talk to us a little bit about your relationship with your CEO. He really views you as an innovator and a strategic partner, helping reimagine, reinvent the customer journey, reimagine and reinvent new business models, new go-to-markets. And essentially, you changed the complete way the company goes to market over the last 8 years. And IDEXX has been a darling on the Fortune 500, I know that.
As I mentioned, just as I joined, we were changing the way we were going to market. And actually, maybe even a more relevant example was the last two instruments that we launched. These are point of care diagnostic platforms that they run the test in the clinic, right? As opposed to sending it out to us in one of our labs. But we've launched those last two instruments in a completely different way. It used to be a very much you sell the capital instrument and then you sell the consumables to go along with it, the reagents to do the test. And what we shifted, and this came out of an IT innovation, that we actually said, hey, because we have all of these, like a couple 100,000 instruments in the field, and they're all connected to the cloud, and we can see what our customers are doing. In fact, that's how we deliver the result back, to the customer. So what if we changed the model? What if we I know what the customer did, I know what consumables they used. What if I made sure that the customer never ran out of reagents? We did an auto replenishment model. And what if I only charged them when they actually ran the test? So I don't charge them for the consumable, I charge them for the result, which is where the value is in the algorithm, is the result. And we actually built that in IT as kind of a part of an innovation hackathon, and we shopped it around. And I was like, hey, would this be interesting? This was several years ago now. And in fact, that's how we launched our last two instruments, was based on this model. And I am fortunate that our CEO, James Elsky, who he was the chief commercial officer before, he took on that role 2.5 years ago, but both the former and the current CEO really view technology, as I said, as a part of how we go to market and bring value. And so I know, at some organizations, it's like, oh, I'm struggling to get a seat at the table. If IT's not at the table, they come looking, right? And say, we need you in here, because this is part of how we are actually going to create that experience and differentiation in the market. And I feel really fortunate that we continue to demonstrate why IT is investable as a part of our business.
Great stuff, Ken. How did you know IDEXX was for you? And I know you had a change in CEOs a few years ago. The initial CEO, did you get along with him? And was that part of the attraction beyond the space that IDEXX is in? And then you had the turnover to the new CEO, and obviously a little uncertainty there. And then obviously he doubled down, and you've had a great run.
Yeah, no, I really have been fortunate, and absolutely. So when I was starting my search for my next role at the time, and I was fortunate enough to have a few different options to consider, and what stood out for me and what I was looking for at IDEXX was an engaged C-suite that understood that technology was an enabler, right? Absolutely. I'm passionate about life sciences and healthcare. And the space that we're in, while it's animal health versus human health, which is where I've spent the majority of my career, the science is fundamentally the same, and the impact on the industry is outsized. It's absolutely tremendous, and the runway for growth, and saying, I'm looking for an organization where I can continue to learn and contribute and help others grow as well. And IDEXX ticks every one of those boxes, not to mention the fact that we're headquartered in Maine. And so I moved from the Boston area to outside of Portland, and it's absolutely a gorgeous area from a life, kind of quality of life area. That didn't hurt, but it was those other boxes that were really the driver. The main thing was just kind of, a nice to have.
Great stuff, Ken. And winning matters, right? As a CEO, winning matters. As a CIO, you must have a winning mindset, because you're truly driving innovation and value creation and invention, right?
Well, I mentioned, making IT investable, and it was the best advice I ever got as a young CIO, as an up and coming, was actually from a CFO at the time. I was at Novartis, and we were talking, and he said, my job as CFO is to make the company investable. And I think it's a really interesting way to describe that, and I think it's very accurate, right? In summary, the CFO's job is to make the company investable. He said, your job as CIO, and I was a regional CIO at the time, he said, your job is to make IT investable. And it changed the way that I thought around the role and how we describe winning and value and prioritization and all the conversations that we have as CIOs with every one of our colleagues in the C-suite. Because we're all asked to do so much. Our teams are asked and pulled in different directions. And if you can take it and think about the investability, the return on investment, why we should do this versus that, why we make this recommendation versus that recommendation, and think about the dynamic, the context that we're in, where you always say it, Hunter, there's never been a better time to be in IT, because the capabilities are continue to grow, right? And this is definitely not the IT I grew up in, but I kind of feel like it was the IT I was promised. And you take all that context and you help your colleagues understand the value that you and your team can deliver. That is tremendously rewarding, and will earn continued investment and partnership in the C-suite.
Excellent, Ken. Looking forward to seeing you soon at the summit, and thank you again for so much support and engagement over the years. Great to see you.
For more information, please visit hmgstrategy.com and keep up to date by following us on our social media platforms. Thank you.